Hi everyone, I want to wish everybody a happy Monday and thank you for joining us today for our webinar event with RBC. I'd like to introduce Vivian again to you. So Vivian Lee is joining us again. And joining us again from last year is Ryan Modi as well.
Hi.
Thank you, Sonia. Hi, everyone. For those of you who have attended our previous webinars, I'm a familiar face. My name is Vivian, and I work in RBC's Inclusive Recruitment team. I came to Canada actually July is in 2003 July. That was the July the 29th. I still remember that was the date I landed in Canada. I remember that was the most horrifying moment in my life. Now it's 15 years, almost 15 years later, and I've been with RBC for almost 10 years. So it's been a great journey so far. And a part of my role is to go out to different communities, which include the newcomer community, and introduce the jobs at RBC and try to help people from different communities also find their career within RBC. So as because I was a newcomer myself, I totally understand the struggle and the challenges newcomers face when they first come to Canada, a new country, a new language, without a lot of network. So it's been, it is very hard on one hand, and on the other hand, I also see it as a great opportunity to to have a new life here, a great country, a lot of great people, great different cultures to explore. So definitely hope that everybody will be able to find your dream job very soon when you land in Canada. And also hopefully that today's webinar with my colleague Ryan, who is going to provide a lot of good information on the technology jobs. Hopefully this webinar will be very informative and interesting to you. So feel free to ask questions at the Q&A section. Yeah, so that's a little bit about myself. Next, I'm going to talk a little bit about RBC. So RBC is the #1 bank in Canada. We have around 80,000 employees. We actually operate in 37 countries around the world. Not only we're the #1 bank in Canada, we are one of the largest banks in North America. So we have businesses like personal and commercial banking. That's when when you come to Canada, you want to open your bank account. So that's where we provide service to you. We also have a very strong business in capital markets and wealth management. Those businesses are global, so we operate not only in Canada, but also in United States, in Europe, and some Asian countries. We have a very strong section, RBC Insurance as well. But in the back office, from the back end, we also have a lot of business, a lot of support, I would say support functions such as technology and operations. I was wondering whether anybody know that RBC is actually the second largest IT employer in Canada. We're just a little bit behind the government, just so you can see the investment we have for our technology talent here. We also have support functions like finance and like HR. I'm from HR, Rihanna is from HR. So a lot of opportunities in different areas. So we are Canada's best diversity employer. We're also the great place to work for multiple years. We serve our clients in 200 languages, and you can guess where do we hire our employees from. A lot of them are either newcomers like yourself or they're second-generation immigrants who can speak different languages. So a lot of our employee base are also a visible minority, which means a lot of them are immigrants or people from different cultures. So because of this huge immigrant employee base, recent years, we focus a lot of our effort on the leadership development piece. We want to develop our immigrant employees into more senior leadership roles. We also have a great employee resource group called Mosaic, in which immigrant employees can come meet with other immigrant employees, and we create a lot of networking, leadership development opportunities. We also have a lot of fun together. We celebrate different cultures, people from different ethnic and religious backgrounds, and produce different diversity festivals each year. So it's a lot of fun to work in, and I learn a lot of different cultures from my colleagues. So that's a little bit about RBC and our commitment to diversity. We do strongly believe that our immigrant employees bring with them the unique culture, acumen, and their great experience working in their home countries. We believe that this is our competitive advantage, both within Canada and globally. So we really look forward to great talent, and which is the reason we provide this webinar today in partnership with ACCESS. So I will pass it back to you, Sonia.
Thank you, Vivian. It's always great to hear about all the great things that are happening at RBC and how multicultural it is. And it's great for our webinar viewers to hear that as well. I feel like it gives everyone a little bit more hope that, they can come to Canada and they can bank with the right people and work with the right people as well. So, exactly. So we're going to move it on to Ryan now.
Thanks for the introduction, Sonia, and amazingly well presented by Vivian to give you an idea about the brand of RBC here in Canada. So thanks, Vivian. About me, for the ones that joined last year, must have known that I'm a senior technical recruiter here at RBC. And what I basically hire for is a lot to do with the latest technology that's out in the market. And RBC is the premier bank that is focused more as a technology company rather than just a bank. So when you hear about RBC, it's not just about your day-to-day banking the way you must have seen in a lot of other countries, but we go beyond banking, which is something that we're going to be covering as part of our introductory session. So moving on to the next slide. And why now is the most exciting time for the technology career at RBC? As I mentioned, RBC is trying to present itself more as a technology company rather than just a bank, wherein RBC is trying to get more digitized in the fact that we're trying to get a digitally enabled bank to interact more with the client and customers, and not necessarily eliminate the need for clients to come into the bank, but for the ones that do not wish to come into the bank, they need to be able to get the same services that you would otherwise, as you would sit at home and do it, or arrive in the bank, right? In terms of technology, we are at a point in time wherein there is more data produced in the last 2 years than it's ever been produced in the entirety of humanity. So what is it that we're doing with all of this information is to leverage it to make sure that the customer convenience is at the forefront of technology. RBC is hiring a lot of the niche skills that we're looking at out in the market. Say, for example, Java developers, or you're looking at big data, or you're looking at say machine learning or data science. RBC is trying to leverage all of these skills in order to make sure that we're positioned more as a technology company. Moving on to the next slide. So what basically we hire for is a lot to do with technology and operations, and here are some of the subunits that fall within the technology and operations umbrella. And basically technology and operations caters to all of the different units of the bank. Say, for example, capital markets, you're talking about personal and commercial banking, or you're talking about investor and treasury services. So you're basically covering all aspects of the bank that are supported by technology and operations. Some of the major components here we're talking about is to do with cloud, with data, with DevOps, which is your continuous integration. A lot to do with innovation out in the market as well, and this is something we'll cover as part of the next steps on, what are the sort of products that RBC is currently leveraging on. Digital is wherein we're looking at becoming a digitally enabled bank. Say, for example, your digital check processing to your client transactions. If you call into the contact center, you don't need to identify with your credit card or your debit card number. It's your voice, which is through natural language processing, that RBC identifies you directly. Security, RBC's app is 100% secured, and not many banks can provide that guarantee of stating that we have 100% secure application, which is I believe in the industry where there are so many hacks is very great to guarantee as part of the security feature. Quality engineering is automation of your testing practices. Automation covers mainly your RPA, and DevOps has a certain component of it. You have Agile, wherein most of the processes within RBC are sort of hybrid or completely agile in a Scrum environment. Blockchain, RBC is invested heavily in blockchain to invest in the technology. I know it's a debatable issue if blockchain is going to be there or not, but I'd leave that separate. And here we're looking at the technology that RBC is investing in. IT risk and mid-tier and API is to do a lot with mid-tier and API is to do with your API development, and IT risk is to do more with your security features. Moving on to the next slide. So these are some of the top tech jobs that RBC and a lot of the tech companies and banks within Toronto are looking at hiring for. You have your role of a data engineer, you have the role of a data scientist, and data scientist is of course different from your standard analyst that you look at in the market. So if you're talking about business analyst or business systems analyst, they're different from, even though you have analytical skills, your data scientists are looking at more of your ability to develop and code as well. So it's a lot about being hands-on. You have your React engineers on the front end. You have your Hadoop specialists, which is your big data specialist again. Java developers, a lot of our backend is done by full stack developers. And then we have the front end as well, which is handled by front end or full stack candidates. We have the web developers, which is again a bit to do with your front end. Scala and Spark development, which is your big data development, again falls as part of the Hadoop ecosystem. Really in-demand technology and skills. We have contract as well as full-time positions. Senior graphic designer, we need a lot of these if you are hands-on with web development as well as graphic designing. That's definitely beneficial, but if you're more into design, we have a number of opportunities for that as well. Backend development and API, we have a number of opportunities for backend, full stack, as well as API development. Moving on to the next slide. So this is a very interesting portion is before we come to Canada, a lot of the candidates have these questions for recruiters saying, my resume needs to be just one page, or I've applied for one particular job, I cannot be applying for other ones. I don't have Canadian experience. A lot of them are looking for Canadian experience only. Am I still going to be able to land a job in Canada? If I apply internationally, I should not mention my PR status, or I should be mentioning it. Resumes are reading only what is the keyword in the applicant tracking system. So these are some of the common myths that a lot of us have, even I had before I came to Canada. And some of the facts here which I'd like to interestingly clarify is, for every position that you apply, your resume is reviewed by recruiters here in RBC. Whatever, it's not just about your keywords, but it's more to do with your experience, your background, and how well you presented yourself on paper, because at the end of the day, your resume speaks for who you are. When you apply for a job, it must match something that you're looking for and your skills and your background, especially if you're an experienced professional. And it's not just about your experience technically, but it's to do a lot with your soft skills as well and the way you present yourself. So many times I get this question of if I should be suited for an interview, if I should come in casual, it's a developer job. Well, you can never be overdressed for an interview is what I'd say, is because at the end of the day, you want to come across as somebody professional. Even though the bank is presenting itself more as a technology company, your first impression at the end of the day is your best impression. So I would say make sure that you're dressed sharp and right. In terms of your skills and knowledge and experience is most valuable as against somebody saying, well, you don't have Canadian experience and it's not valid here in Canada. That's not the truth. Of course, the kind of experience that you had in your home country or internationally, that's definitely beneficial. How you present that forward for the relevant job posting is what the team is ideally looking for. In terms of being able to present your resume in one page only, that is basically a way to tell you that you need to focus more to the point in covering aspects of your resume rather than you beating around the bush on what exactly is the job looking for and how are you the ideal candidate for that job. So what you want to be looking at is your STAR approach, wherein you're answering the questions more with respect to the situation, task, action, and result. In terms of mentioning about your PR or work status, ideally, if you're going to be arriving in Canada anywhere between the next 2 to 3 months, I would definitely advise you mentioning your PR status, so employers can know that you're going to be arriving around that time and they can make arrangements accordingly. A lot of the positions that you apply for, they need to be closed anywhere between a month to 3 months max as a duration. So it's ideally advised that you apply for roles that you're available right away, right? So that's pretty much in terms of the myths and the facts. And moving on to the next slide. Technology here at RBC. Moving up next. Beyond your resume, so this is very interesting, is a lot of the candidates, particularly the developers in the technology space, they're more focused only on having their updated resume and applying for the job. If you know how the job market here in Canada works, so if you've done your own research, it's just not about your resume and what you put in your resume, but it's got to do with a lot of social and professional networking that you do within the Canadian market, but also on the technology side, and a lot to do with the technology units and the meetups and the different portals that you register at. So if you have your own projects on GitHub, that is definitely beneficial. You can always put that on your resume or on your LinkedIn profile. Make sure you have your LinkedIn profile updated and you reach out to people that you believe would definitely help you get an understanding of the market, of what technology here in Canada is all about. You have Medium, you have Behance, you have Code Wars, you have Stack Overflow. Make sure you create your profile there. You mention about your projects that you've done in the past, things that you're working on, because people that are enthusiastic, not necessarily just mention things they've done at work, but a lot of you might be involved in your own side gigs, which you want to mention on your resume as well as on your professional and social networking sites, right? So make sure you're active on Dribbble, you're on Code Wars, on GitHub. Make sure you share your projects with people. Nobody's going to take your project away. It's more about sharing, learning, and caring. And that's how we all learn here in RBC and in Canada in particular. Moving on to the next slide. More information about RBC. So if you're a newcomer to Canada and you're planning to arrive in the next 3 to 6 months, you should definitely visit the rbc.com/newcomers for more advice on the newcomers and the different programs we have. In addition to that, what I'd like to mention is RBC has a new application which is known as Arrive. So I'll tell you a bit more about what this app is all about. Basically, you log on to arrivein.ca. And it goes beyond banking, as I mentioned, the innovative features that the bank is working on. It is a personalized, interactive module wherein it's mainly meant for your pre-arrival in Canada, and it not only provides you your banking needs, but it's sort of a one-stop shop to all of your needs, wherein you can connect with employment and settlement service experts, where you can book an accommodation pre-arrival. You can find a mentor who can advise you in terms of your settlement services, in terms of your resume services, in terms of being able to open a bank account and settle well here in Canada. So you basically get an agent that you can connect with, either book an appointment through Skype or WhatsApp, and any extra assistance that you need in order to make sure that your settlement and arrival in Canada is very smooth and seamless. If you don't want to book an appointment and get involved as part of the process, you also have a chat icon at arrivein.ca, wherein you can chat with the individual who's available there and let him know when you're planning to arrive in Canada and what are the support services that you might avail of. Is definitely beneficial to go have a look and try and get an understanding of how RBC is leveraging different aspects of technology to make sure that new arrivals are comfortable and have a seamless settlement. Moving on to the next slide. Perfect. So we're done, and I believe we're done pretty quick. So we're going to have plenty of time to take questions. And over to Sonia, and thank you so much for taking the time to listen to me. If you have any questions, we're here to answer them. Sonia, we're not able to hear you. I'm not sure if there's an issue at our end.
Sorry, can you hear me now?
Yeah, that's perfect.
Okay, perfect. Sorry about that. All right, so no, I was just saying that thank you again for joining us, and thank you everybody for watching. We're just going to take questions now. I know it was a short webinar, which works out best because everybody's got a lot of questions here. I can see already. So Ryan Atchin has a question, wants to know if people are applying to jobs before they come to Canada, do you provide maybe Skype interviews for them before they arrive here?
So that's a very good question. It depends on the type of role and the type of job they're going to be applying for. If the skills are available locally, of course, a lot of the managers would like to view the candidates in person and interview them in person. But if they believe that the candidate is going to be arriving within the duration of them being able to hire, then of course they're more than happy to conduct Skype interviews.
Awesome, thank you. And I know you're in Toronto, but do you do interviews or do you do recruitment for jobs in Quebec as well?
So we have a number of positions. Some of them are in eastern side, some of them are on the west. We have dedicated recruiters for each location. And yes, of course, we have, since we have RBC in Quebec and we have it in Montreal and we have it in Ottawa, different locations on the east, we have recruiters that are usually hiring. For me, it's mainly Toronto and the larger GTA, but we have other recruiters that hire for those locations.
Thank you. We have another question from Iron Rind, and he wants to know if RBC provides internships for fresh graduates.
So internships are provided for fresh graduates, of course, and it depends on the kind of institutes that we're associated with. So what I would say is definitely reach out to the campus team that is within the portfolio of the campus team to be able to share. But yes, we do have a number of internship as well as co-op opportunities that they can avail of. And RBC is branding a lot for interns and co-ops.
Awesome, good to know. Thank you. And Aldo has a question, wants to know what are the technical and soft skills that you look for in IT auditors?
So IT auditors, basically, it depends on the sort of the tech stack that you're looking at. If it's Sarbanes-Oxley, or if you're looking at particular tech stack within IT audit, it depends on which are the compliance requirements that you're going to be looking at. So that's ideally as part of the tech skill. Depends on the job description and the job you're applying for. In terms of the soft skills, basically, we're looking at good communication skills. We're looking at a good personality fit. We're looking at a good team fit as well, because at the end of the day, we believe a lot in people being able to work cohesively as a team rather than just individual contributors. And what I, as a recruiter, really feel is very strong for candidates to have is the enthusiasm to learn, even if you don't have the skills that are required for the job. because everything else can be coached on, but enthusiasm, if you don't have it, I don't think any of the managers would be interested in coaching you on it.
Thank you. Urbano has a question, wants to know if they should put their status on their resume. So, for example, if they are pre-arrival and they're going to be landing soon, or you know, they're in the process of getting here soon, should they be writing down their current status on the resume?
Yes, I would definitely encourage writing that, because a lot of the applications we receive are international, and they don't mention their current status of where they're at and mention their location as Toronto. But if your number is not local, we're going to know that you're not available locally. But if you mention on your resume that you're going to be arriving in probably a month's time or 15 days or probably 2 months' time, at least the recruiter would know to push your profile forward, rather than it being in the pool where you're not in Canada and probably, you know, you're not available until the time where they're looking to hire.
Right, thank you. Kareem has a question, wants to know if there's a French job posting, should he only use a French resume or should he use both?
So if there is a French posting, you can use an English resume as well. You know, you can use either or, depending on your capability. If the requirement says you need to be able to speak, read, and write in French, then that is, if it's a must-have requirement, it's a must-have requirement and needs to be presented. But most of the recruiters here that speak in French are bilingual, so they do understand and are able to read and communicate in English, and they should be able to put it through.
Thank you. David has a question. This is a good question because we get it in all different sectors as well. So IT is very technical, and when there's a job posting and it's asking for various technical requirements, do they have to be efficient or proficient in all of them? Or, I mean, if there's missing some, it's okay. What's the average? What's the percentage that, you know, you look at?
So basically, a lot of the managers want everything, including the house and the wash basin and the sink and the balcony. Everybody has all of those requirements. But at the end of the day, if you're able to tick off most of them, which you believe are absolute must-haves for the role, then you can apply, because none of the candidates are usually able to meet all of those requirements, but that is an ideal Superman or a Superwoman that we're looking for. But when you can fit as much as possible, well, that's good enough for the role. And at the end of the day, you need to understand you're competing against people that are as strong as you, but come from different countries around the world. So think of it more from a global standpoint rather than just from your city or from your country, because we're looking at applications that we receive globally, and you want to make sure you stand out. So if you meet as many requirements as possible, make sure you highlight those, and if you're the right fit, more than happy to hire those. Thank
you. Can you just go over that app that you were talking about, the Arrive app?
Yes, so arrivein.ca is basically a new initiative by RBC, which is part of RBC Ventures. And RBC Ventures provides a number of facilities beyond just banking, and one of them is Arrive. Arrive is basically a lot to do with your pre-arrival services that you can avail of. For example, opening a bank account, there are certain prerequisites that you need to complete. If you're looking for settlement services, they provide settlement services as well, wherein you can look for a temporary accommodation. You can chat with an individual who can advise you more about how life is in Canada, how things you can learn about. Say if you're looking for a job, what are the settlement services, say for example, ACCES employment that they can connect you with, and tell you more about how is it that you can settle in well in Canada. So it's more of interactive, where you have a certain person who's assigned to you rather than just speaking to a predetermined question. So you can speak to this individual through WhatsApp or through Skype, and you can get an understanding of what life is like in Canada and avail of the settlement services.
Awesome, thank you. I hope that was clear for everybody because a few people missed it. So, and again, you can check out it online as well. Harshita has a question, wants to know what entry-level jobs do you have in IT at RBC?
So entry-level jobs are a lot to do with, depending on what sort of technology you have an entry-level position in. In IT, we have a lot of support positions wherein you're looking to get a good entry. We have junior quality engineering or quality assurance testers. We're having some junior developer positions available when the team is ready to train and coach you on. if you've got your bachelor's in information technology or a technological background. So there are a number of positions, say in terms of development, in terms of you being able to settle down. For executive assistant positions, we have positions for quality assurance or testing. We have positions for junior candidates when you're looking more towards business analysts and project control officers. You have a number of positions, but depending on your background and the skill set that you're ready to offer.
That sounds fair. Thank you. Rup Kiran has a question, and I'd be happy to clear this for everybody. Are all the jobs limited only to newcomers, or are they also for citizens as well?
So the jobs basically, at the end of the day, like any other job, you're trying to find the best fit. So basically, they're all about we're an equal opportunities employer. So equal opportunities applies to everyone and anyone. So basically, you're looking at not just you, but people from all over the world, including people in Canada, is what you're competing against.
Okay. Is it as long as they are legally entitled to work in Canada?
Yes. So your legal entitlement to work in Canada is definitely needed. If you are on an open work permit, that's definitely beneficial. If you're on a closed work permit and you need to apply for a visa, it completely depends on a case-to-case basis. But ideally, if the same skills are available with somebody who's legally eligible to work in Canada, it makes more business sense to apply for that. But if you are able to prove that you're worth it and your sponsorship is needed and the skills are not available locally, of course, like any other employer, we're more than happy to look at that on a case-to-case basis.
Thank you. Madhu has a question, wants to know, do you also have jobs in technical project management as well, or are they all technical positions as in like developers or consultation?
That's a good question. So technical applies, we cover all, basically all domains and all aspects of technology. So you're looking at project managers, you're looking at senior project managers, you're looking at program managers, program directors, or you're talking about PCO, business analysts. We're covering all aspects of technology, and basically that covers project managers as well.
All right, thank you. Then we have another question. Thank you for all the questions, everyone. They're great questions. I'd like to keep them short so that we can get through them quicker. All right. So what is the hiring process at RBC? Is it any different from anywhere else, or sorry, the application process from the client's end?
So when you apply for any of the position, your resume comes in my inbox, and that's when I look at each and every resume. In terms of specific timelines, it completely depends on the business need, when they're looking to hire and when they're looking to fill the role. If it's a backup, when the person leaves and when you're looking to fill it. Ideally, the process is, so there's no predefined process as such. It depends on every hiring manager and how they plan to evaluate. But usually it is your resume gets screened, then you have a quick chat with the recruiter, then you have a discussion with the hiring manager and their development team or their team members, and then it's one with the senior leadership team, which is the SLT. Once that goes well, then either it's an offer or a feedback.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Chandra has a question, and she's a SAP consultant and wants to know, she's been checking out jobs in RBC and SAP, and wants to know how big is that SAP team and what are the opportunities available?
So SAP team is not as large. There are only certain SAP-based systems that RBC is currently using. RBC is mainly to do a lot with big data. It's most of the platforms are Java-based. A lot of our platforms are mainframe-based as well. In terms of your requirement and your skill set, there are some opportunities that do open up SAP-based, but they're not as many as what you would see in a lot of other companies as well. But we do have certain SAP because our recruitment system is SAP based.
Thank you. Ramya has a question, wants to know, what are your thoughts on people who don't really have an IT background but want to, transition into IT? How can they get into RBC?
So if you don't have an IT, so there are two aspects. I'd like to answer this question in two ways. You don't have an IT background, but you have an inclination towards IT and you've done your own research and your side gigs and projects. And the ones that don't have an IT background, but have been more on the business side and now all of a sudden seeing the boom want to move into IT. So the ones that have done their side gigs, always been interested, invested a bit in Bitcoin, tried to learn a bit about development languages. These are the kind of people who have their own passion and ability to learn, are the ones that easily transition into from non-tech to tech roles, rather than the ones that have been there but more on the business side, and all of a sudden with the boom they want to look at IT, but you don't have the proficiency or the drive to move into tech. Then that's a different aspect. But I would definitely advise for the ones that are looking to move, have that continuous learning ability and prove that it's not just the job that you're going to learn through, but you've done your own side gigs too.
Thank you. Nayaz wants to know if RBC offers any bridging programs or internship programs for internationally experienced new immigrants. I guess I'll answer that for you. Here at ACCES, we do have bridging programs that are sponsored by RBC as well. So our FSC for finance program, finance clients, or we've got our IT connections program as well. So if you are interested in taking these bridging programs on for newcomers, you are more than welcome to come to ACCES and check them out. And well, there's Vivian as well. And you know, we will more than be willing to help you, you know, get an interview with RBC or get a speed mentoring event. So we have tons of events with RBC all the time. So we would be able to connect you as well. Next question I had right here was, sorry. Do you have a lot of people? Are you hiring positions for digital banking as well?
Yes, so basically digital banking is a wide umbrella. We have a number of aspects within digital. Say, for example, you have mobile, you have API, you have test automation, depending on the sort of role that you're particularly looking for. We're a digitally enabled bank, so digital is a large portion of what we hire. So yes, depending on the kind of skill set, we're hiring a lot within the digital umbrella.
Thank you. So we talked about Skype interviews, and I know that you said that, you know, there could be a possibility that you could do Skype interviews, but do people still have to come in for an in-person interview as well, eventually, if it goes forward?
So it completely depends if the candidate's exceptional on Skype and they're able to present themselves the way the manager's been looking for and that ideal fit. The Skype interview should suffice, depending on when they're able to arrive in Canada. If it's probably in the next 10 to 15 days and you have a Skype interview, and then if you come and meet the manager in person, that's definitely beneficial. But if they're not able to do it, then we always conduct. Say, for example, a manager from Luxembourg is hiring for a place in Toronto. That's the only option. You can only do Skype, and then they're happy to hire the individual basis there. Thank
you. Urbano has a question, wants to know how important are cover letters to recruiters?
So that's a good question. I'm glad that you brought that up. Cover letters, even though a lot of places are going to tell you that cover letters are really important, sometimes it's important, sometimes it's not. It depends on the kind of role that you're applying for. If you don't include a cover letter, that's not going to impact your application in any sense of the term. If it's only a resume, we're more than happy to see that. But if you have a quick blurb, make sure if you include your cover letter, that doesn't impact anything, but it's your resume that's going to make the main impact, if that helps.
Thank you. Vivian, do you share the same thoughts on that as well?
So really, like Ariane said, it really depends on the role. So resume is what we refer to mainly when we select candidates. But if there are two candidates who are, you know, we both feel very strongly about, and we want to know more about those candidates, at that time we would refer to your cover letter, and it's additional. I would say it's an additional opportunity for you to sell yourself. Right. In addition to the resume, which provides us the information about your job experience, the cover letter allows you to tell us why you want the role, why you feel you are the best candidate for the role, and sometimes it is the personality that it allows you to show more of your desire for the role. So it's additional. I would say if you consider job interview and job application as selling yourself, this is an additional opportunity. It's like a flyer you put there in addition to the product, right? Yeah. So I would definitely, if I have two candidates, which I'm debating which one to hire, I would definitely read your read your cover letter to see who is more passionate about the role.
It
That's a
shows
good one.
that it shows that extra effort, right? So
Yes.
definitely no harm in adding a cover letter as well. So thank you both for answering that. Sarah has a question, wants to know if you really need, so she's from Montreal, and she wants to know if you really need an intermediate level of French to be working in RBC. If that's, would you know that? It's Montreal posting.
It totally depends on the job posting. If it is, if the requirement of the job posting is for you to communicate in French, then yes, it is mentioned on the job description. And if it says it's a must-have, then you need it. If it's a nice-to-have requirement, then even if you have basic proficiency within that, then that definitely helps.
Thank you. Naif has a great question, wants to know what is the level of interaction between ACCES Employment and RBC in terms of hiring? Do ACCES Employment refer candidates to RBC managers or recruitment teams? So we do have a great relationship with RBC, and whenever there's any job postings, they are sent directly to us as well. And we've got several job developers, corporate engagement team that are trying to fill those roles for RBC. So yes, we do help RBC recruit a lot of clients through us as well. And maybe Vivian and Ryan, I mean, if you want to talk about that as well. I know that Sheila mentioned a lot for her Brampton Newcomers Center, and they had a really nice event over there with all our clients and people that they hired from us as well. So I'll let you answer that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So I will take this question. So we have a very long-standing partnership with ACCES Employment. So I believe in the past, I would say from in the past 20 years, we had hired, I would say, over 500 people in the branch roles, like PNCB roles in the past. And also RBC Insurance also have a very strong partnership with ACCES Employment. I believe we together created some kind of curriculum so that people who are interested in insurance roles can get the education and the license they need. But in the last 2 years, RBC's partnership with ACCES have expanded to support more professional people, like people with IT background, people with finance background. We have had so many sessions which we invite people with register with ACCES to come and meet with our RBC hiring managers, because we believe that is the great opportunity for talent to showcase yourself, not only your experience on the resume, but what's your approach when it comes to different job challenges. So it's a great opportunity to present yourself face to face. For example, in technology and operations this year, we have had 3 newcomer related speed mentoring events, which we invite newcomers who have registered with ACCES to send us a resume, and our fabulous recruiters like Ryan would shortlist the resumes based on the skills we're looking for. Ultimately, we would select around 25 people, who we invite to our events. At the event, the job candidate would have the opportunity to meet with hiring very senior leaders in technology and operations and showcase their talents. So far, we have 3 every quarter. We have 1 event. We have quite successful hires. We last session just ended in, I think it's mid-July, but from the first 2 sessions in January and in May, we have hired 5 full-time employees and 3 interns, career internship, and they have all started working in RBC. So if you're interested, please do register with ACCES Employment, and they will keep you posted. Actually, the next event for RBC IT to meet with newcomer job candidate is on September the 28th. So, make sure you take a note of that date, and ACCES Employment will share with you the event details later.
Thank you for sharing that date in advance, Vivian. I'm sure that means a lot to people who are on their way and might be landing sometime in August or September. This way they're prepared to come in with their resumes and everything. So thank you for all of that. The next question, Ryan, is for you, and wants to know what kind of roles are available in your automation unit.
So automation, I would categorize into three types of automation. So we have DevOps automation, which is your continuous integration. We have RPA, which is robotics process automation, and we have something which is quality engineering test automation. I'm not sure which sort of automation is the individual referring to, but we have opportunities in all three of them. So that simplifies the answer. DevOps, we have a lot of requirements. We probably have 10 roles open right now. For RPA, we have a number of positions that are open, probably more than 5. And even in terms of test automation, which is quality engineering, not terms of quality assurance, it's quality engineering, which is the new term. Probably more than 10 opportunities open currently at the moment.
Thank you. Kenny has a question, wants to know, does RBC have like on peak or peak off recruitment periods, like maybe certain months that you're thoroughly hiring and then sometimes it's slow?
So I would say only season that's slow is usually around Christmas time, because a lot of the managers are on vacation, and a lot of the staff is on vacation too, just like any other location. But in terms of all throughout the year, we're pretty active in terms of the hiring numbers.
Thank you. And are IT support jobs only limited to Toronto only, or are they available province-wide?
No, we have IT support jobs that are available province-wide, but it completely depends on where the main central location is. Usually they're in Toronto, GTA, Montreal, so it's mainly in the major cities.
Thank you. And Nardia has a question, just needs clarification again, so maybe we can just say that again. Where are all the job postings for RBC?
On the RBC Careers website. So if you look at, I will tell you what exactly is it. So it's rbc.com /ca/en, and you can go to the careers website /careers, rbc.com/careers. You can check that website out, and most of the jobs are posted there. And you have it on other portals as well. So you're looking at LinkedIn, you're looking at Indeed, you're looking at Workopolis. We have it on different locations, but it all comes through the RBC Careers website.
Thank you. And this question is, what are job opportunities for database developers without big data experience?
So most of the systems are moving from traditional EDW, which is the enterprise data warehouse systems, onto a data lake. So that's where you look at most of the systems currently that are in EDW systems are moving on to big data at the moment. So we still have a lot of data warehousing requirements and data developers. So we have senior data engineers where you're looking at a lot of ETL support services that are still on traditional EDW systems, who's still moving on to cloud and on to big data systems. So we have a number of requirements.
Perfect, thank you. So Stephen has an interesting question. Have you ever hired anyone for a job without posting the job? So maybe it was through internal networking, or just happened to be at the right place at the right time kind of situation?
So as I mentioned, we're an equal opportunities employer. So we provide equal opportunities to everybody. When a job is posted, we have opportunities for people from internal candidates to apply as well as external. They're evaluated basis their skills and their potential. So it depends. If you're strong enough, then of course you're hired. But every job that we have is usually posted, and everybody that is interested needs to apply, and we're treated as an equal opportunities employer.
Perfect. Thank you very much. I think that brings us to the end of our questions. We were able to go through, I have no idea how many questions we just went through. So thank you for, a very short and very informative webinar. And we were actually able to go through tons of questions. We normally don't get a chance to go through all the questions, but everyone, thank you for watching. So Ryan and Vivian, do you want to say anything before I move on to our slides?
I just want to say, just like any other webinars, we feel very happy that we're able to provide this advice to you, and we hope that the advice we give can be useful in your job searching We also understand it's not an easy process. Sometimes it needs both patience and persistence. So please do be patient and be persistent, and we wish you all the best when it comes to job searching.
Yep, very well said by Vivian. Patience and persistence, and persistence is how I got my job in RBC. I made a couple of applications, not one or two, probably about 50 applications, and then I got it through. So make sure you're persistent and you apply for the relevant job posting.
Thank you. And Ryan, I think that means a lot to people, because a lot of people were saying, oh, I've applied to 3 positions to RBC, I haven't heard anything. So like Ryan said, he's applied to about 50 positions, and that, that now he is where he is. So it's all about persistence, and you really can't take things personally, when you don't get a job or you get rejected, just when your application gets rejected. It's really not about you. You have to keep trying, keep tailoring your resume to the job ad that it is. Maybe you're missing a few things. You might know that you have what it takes, but it might not be on your resume. So it's really important to make sure that you have a targeted resume that's tailored to the job that you're applying to. And thank you both very much. We hope to hear back from you again. It was a great opportunity for IT background to get to know more about RBC IT initiatives, hiring initiatives that you have on your end.